Good morning. Hello. Hello.
Good morning, Rinpoche.
Hi. Hello. How are you? Hello. Dagi chöje gibe sönam gi ndola benjire zangi ndo bara jo zangi je zogi jo nam la chanjo bardo nani gyepso je dagi chöje gibe sönam gi ndola benjire zangi ndo bara jo zai shi bu 조지메도 자마이리심 니은드의겐보인데 상계신도 Okay. Okay. Uh, is the voice clear? All right. Okay. So, the um, so last week, the week before, we talked about the path or the steps, right? The process to attaining nirvana, for which you need the discipline, concentration, and wisdom in order to attain nirvana. And by attaining nirvana, you will have peace, you will have discipline, you will have um, unaging or deathlessness, etc. So that's what we discussed last week. Now we will go further into this. So the verse that we are covering is on verse number 106. Verse number 106. Verse number 106. So there's something called seven points or 7 elements to reach to reach Buddhahood, what we refer to as the complete ultimate nirvana, ultimate liberation. So these are the 7 points or the 7 elements that leads one to nirvana, ultimate nirvana, which is the Buddhahood. So let me read the text in Tibetan and then Chanda sherab cheda chunju tang kada shindu chamba tingzin da tanyum de du chanju biang te nyangen de rup giben ge la. Sherab mebar samdi, so verse number 106, then verse number 107. Sherab mebar samdi yumi te samdi mebar yani sherab me kangla tini yube sibayi gyatso nangje dabur tsewar gis. So these are the 2 verses, 106 and 107. So in English, it's mindfulness, discernment, diligence, joyful mind, and flexibility, concentration, and evenness. These 7 limbs are elements that lead to Buddhahood. They gather virtue and attain the state beyond all pain. And verse number 107 is lacking wisdom, concentration fails, and without concentration, wisdom too fails. For someone who has both, samsara sea feels no more than the print left by a hoof of a horse, hoof of a cow. So these are the 106 and 107. So this is known as sometimes, so this particular 7 elements is usually what we refer to as the seven jewels, okay? 7 jewels of the sublime beings, 7 jewels of the noble beings, like that. The reason is by keeping this, meaning by practicing these 7 points, one becomes a sublime being, one becomes a noble being, and one remains as such because of practicing these, the 7 points that we're going to discuss. So the 7 points is we discussed, we just read it through. It's the first one is called mindfulness. Mindfulness basically means to be mindful. Mindful, to be mindful. So we hear this word all the time, mindfulness, like that. So basically, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is keeping your mind aware, keeping your mind full of that object. That is being mindful. Something we say a lot in our everyday conversation. We would say, be careful, right? When we say someone to be careful, we telling them, take care of yourself, be aware. There are a lot of thieves here. There are a lot of dangerous people around here, so be careful. That's what we tell people. So be careful. Mindful is being careful about your mind. When we say be careful, we are talking about our health, our money, our everything. When we say mindful, basically you are saying being careful about the activities of your mind. That is the meaning of being mindful. That is mindfulness. Basically, being careful about what your mind, the activities of your mind. And here in this particular case, being mindful means to not to forget, or not to be distracted from the object. Not distraction, sorry. Not to forget the object that you are focusing on. So being focused on the object is concentration. And in order to maintain concentration on the object, you need mindfulness, because our mind is very light. So it does not stay put on the object that we are meditating. So it often moves from one object to another object. So we are thinking about a black card, then our mind focus on a black card. Then after few moments, it changes into it focuses on a yellow card, it focuses on a red card, etc. So it does not stay on one object, right? So therefore, we are trying to focus on one object, let's say the black card, but then the mind keeps swaying like the wind. It goes here and there. Any little thing can distract us. So when the distraction comes, the mind moves from the black card to the yellow card to the red card. And that's when mindfulness should keep awareness there. Mindfulness brings the focus from the yellow card to the black card. So that is where the mindfulness comes in. So you have the concentration, you have the when you are focusing on an object, that is the concentration. When the concentration is wavering, when it's going down, then that's when the mindfulness helps to bring it back to the focal point. So after the next, after the mindfulness, the next one is called discernment. So discernment is being able to discern, being able to discriminate, being able to decide what is right, what is wrong, what is black, what is white, what is up, what is down, etc. So that in a very simple terms, that is discernment. And another word for discernment is what we usually call wisdom. So that is basically what wisdom is. With intelligence, you will have all the information, but wisdom is what filters out the rough from the soft. So basically, wisdom is the one that that discriminates things from right and wrong. So when you have the mindfulness decides. So mindfulness is keeping watch on your mind. When your mind is distracted, the mindfulness is distracted. The mindfulness brings the focus back to the point, to the object. Then you need to have the discernment, or you need to have the wisdom to bring back the right focus. Because your mind is used to so many different things. So mindfulness does not mean just bring everything that your mind has ever thought about. It should bring an object that is relevant to the meditation or to the concentration that you are putting effort into. So therefore, discernment, that is basically the wisdom, usually what we call wisdom. So that is the second element, second element of the noble beings. That's the wisdom. The next comes diligence. So sometimes it's called sometimes the translation says effort, putting effort. Mostly we use the term diligence, due diligence, diligence. So diligence is basically putting effort into a virtuous action. Yeah. Being diligent onto something that is negative is not regarded as diligent. Putting effort into something negative is not regarded diligence in this sense. Okay, let's say you want to cheat a casino. Yeah, you try to cheat a casino. You work very hard, plan ahead. So all of these things, that is not called an diligence, because you are trying to cheat someone. Yeah, for like that. So diligence here is putting effort into something that brings virtue, that is meritorious, that brings goodness. So for example, we are doing a meditation. Yeah. So we are putting the seven, we can put all the seven elements into one practice. So for example, let's say you are meditating on the image of the Buddha, you're meditating on the image of the Buddha. So in order to imagine, you need to have concentration, that is meditation part. And then your attention might waver, and then you need to have mindfulness to bring your attention back. Yeah. And then also you will also need the wisdom to decide which part of Buddha's body to remember at that exact moment. Yeah. And then when you do meditation, often there always is the boredom and laziness kicking in, all these things. So you will need to put in a lot of diligence. So by putting effort into meditating on the Buddha's image, you are accumulating merit, which is virtuous, right? So that is not something negative. So by putting effort into something positive, you are practicing diligence. So that is number 3, diligence. Now, following diligence. So when you do diligence, when you practice diligence, then or because of that, or you will need to have. So next one, number 4 is joyfulness. I think in some translation they use the term rapture, so some sort of an excitement, but excitement not in the sense of distraction, but excitement in the excitement in the action that you are engaging, in the practice that you are engaging. Let's say if you are doing a prayer, excitement here means to joy, or excitement or rapture here means to find happiness, to find joyfulness, to find excitement in doing the prayer. If you are doing a prostration, finding joy in the prostration. If you are doing a circumambulation, gora, going around the temple, then finding joy in it. You may be tired from the walk. You may have it's hot and heat. There's a heat and all that, but in your mind you are so excited. When you go to like when you are young, and when you go to the like concerts, then you have to stand up all night to watch a concert, a show. But then even though you have been standing up all day or all night watching that show, but because of the music, because of the entertainment, everything makes you feel so excited. So even though you may be standing up for 4 or 5 hours, you're still there's so much energy in there. So similarly, number 4, joy means having the same excitement, having the same joyfulness, having the same rapture as you go along with your practice. So when you are practicing something, it is important to have that joyfulness. Let's say if you lose that joyfulness, if you lose in other words, you can say the fun part, right? When you are having fun with your practice, when you are enjoying it, then the practice goes very smoothly. But when you start to develop laziness, when you start to develop irritation, etc., then the practice becomes longer than it actually is, and it's a burden for you. Yeah. Number 5 is here it's used as flexibility. Another word that we usually use is pliancy, Pliancy, pliancy. So basically, it means this. The meaning is similar, it means the same thing. Flexible, yeah, flexibility in the mind and flexibility in the body. That's what we are referring to. So here, flexible does not mean like a yoga practitioner. Your body is flexible to stretch and this and that. I mean, that's not exactly what we are saying. So flexibility here refers to um, getting your mind and body conditioned to something. So flexibility here means to be conditioned. Your mind is conditioned to something, your body is conditioned to something. So for example, when you start meditating, right? When you keep meditating over and over and over again, then your body is conditioned to sit cross-legged, right? Your mind is conditioned, your mind is habituated, if you like. Your mind is now becoming flexible to focus on one object for a very long time. Your body is now conditioned. Your body is now flexible enough to sit cross-legged for a long time. Or in other practices, let's say chanting, you are flexible. You are uh, comfortable, right? To practice, to pray for hours and hours with a loud voice. You are comfortable to do mandala offering for a long time. You are comfortable to do the gora, right? Going around a holy stupa like that for a long time. So that's when your body becomes flexible. Your mind becomes flexible to give donation. Your mind becomes flexible to forgive someone. Your mind become flexible to have devotion towards the triple gem, etc. So that is the flexible part of it. So very simple meaning of flexibility here is being habituated or being comfortable doing something. So here we are talking about being flexible in Dharma practices, being flexible in praying, in reciting mantra, in having devotion, in doing gora, prostration, mandala offering, etc. So any kind of Dharma practices, when you are comfortable, you are um, habituated, you have no problem doing it for a long time. That's called flexibility. Yeah. Then that's flexibility. Next, number 6 is called concentration. So that's easy to understand. Concentration. So it's not just talking about meditation alone. Okay. Of course, when you meditate, you need to have concentration. You need to be focused, single-pointed focus on one object, etc. But in any activity, any spiritual activity, you need to have concentration, right? But if you go further, actually, if you need to accomplish something, anything in life, even something small, you need to have concentration. Something that you take for granted, uh, like driving a car. We take this for granted, but you need to have concentration. Otherwise, you may eat you may end up bumping into another car. If you are taking if you're not driving yourself, if you're just taking a bus ride, you need to have concentration. Otherwise, you may miss your bus stop. Yeah. So So concentration is important in all parts of life, especially when it comes to Dharma practice. You need to have concentration. So here, concentration is not just about your mind being focused on something, but your whole body, yeah, your whole being, mind and body, both being at the same place at the same time. So your mind is focused, your mind is doing some Dharma practice, and your body is doing something uh, not so nice, huh? So that is not going to work. So your mind and your body both should be at the same place. They should both be concentrated. So concentrated means packing all together. So your mind is packed together, your body is packed together. So whatever you are doing, you should be doing just that. And uh, in today's time, we talk a lot about multitasking, but the thing is, by being focusing on one thing at a time, you'll be able to accomplish more than by just doing multitasking. Because a lot of time by doing multitasking, we end up uh, we we make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. So therefore, concentration here is to put all energy into one thing, uh, and put all your focus physically and mentally onto one thing. That is concentration. Yeah. Then after that is the evenness. So I'm thinking in many texts we use the term equality, equanimity, etc. So here the term evenness is used. So you have when we practice the four immeasurables, we practice the last one is equanimity. Uh, mm, uh, there is no loved one that you hold so close to, and then there is no enemy that you want to push away so far. Basically, all beings, right, loved ones as well as the so-called loved ones and the so-called enemies are both your own perception. It comes from your own projection. Yeah. And so therefore, to see everything as equal. So here, evenness, that is to level out, level everything. Not There's nothing that should excite you so much to get distracted, right? And there's nothing that should um, how to say bothers your mind so much so that you get totally depressed. So nothing to be too much excited about, nothing to be too much depressed about. So to see everything um, as you would see in a calm water. There's, the you will see, for example, this is spoken many times in the Dharma text. Like when you go to the ocean, you see the waves um, coming, flowing, and it makes a lot of noise. It makes a lot of scene and everything. But at the end of the day, the waves has to go back to the ocean. There is nothing much it can do. So the waves may make such a drama, but at the end of the day, the waves goes back to the ocean. It is nothing but water. So these gigantic waves are nothing but just water, and it goes back to the source, which is the ocean. Similarly, the mind may get distracted by something so exciting or something so depressing, flying up so high or going down so low. At the end of the day, it all comes back. It all comes back. And none of this is outside the mind. It is all in the mind, within the mind, and so forth. So therefore, staying within the very nature of the mind, that is the key here. That is all these things is just a illusion. Not an illusion. It's a mirage. It's a facade. It's a it's a it's a shadow, not the form. So evenness, equal. Oh yeah. So then this is so this is called the seven elements, right? That seven elements that leads to nirvana. Another reference to this is what we call the seven gems of the noble beings. So you may find the noble beings may not have gold and silver and diamond and that kind of jewelry or gemstones to carry around, but they usually carry these seven gems. So these are sometimes called the jewels of the noble beings. Yeah, like that. So in the Tibetan tradition, when we write the name of some great masters, uh, great teachers, noble beings, right, as well as so your master, etc. We put a marker, number 7, in the Tibetan script, number 7, in front of their name. And so that actually signifies the 7 elements, or the seven jewels, 7 gemstone, or 7 um, 7 ornaments that they wear, 7 ornaments that they carry, 7 jewels that they carry. So it's quite common in our tradition to put the number 7 in front of someone's name. So it signifies these 7 elements. So that means that teacher, the master, whoever that great master actually is embodying these 7 gemstones, is carrying those 7 gemstones within their practice, within their being, like that. So next verse, the verse number 107, is is a reference to the wisdom that is not separated from the concentration, right? Concentration, not separated from wisdom. So the specific term for this is the profound yoga of wisdom related to sustained calm. So in any way, so let me just we already read through the verse already. So the 107, verse number 107, lacking wisdom, concentration fails, and without concentration, wisdom too, right? So here is in order to have when you have a concentration, when you have wisdom, that wisdom should come with the foundation of a proper concentration, right? So without the concentration, that wisdom itself is of not much use. It may be wisdom, it may be very good, but you're not able to utilize that. So I will give 2 examples. One example is you have a torch, you have a lamp, light. So when you have a light, I think in the modern lights, lamp, torches, you can actually twist the lamp, the tip of the torch. So when you twist it one way, the light goes very far. It focuses on one object. And when you twist it another way, the light just spreads out, right? So when the light is just spreading out, the power of the light is very thin. It's not useful for much. It is not useful for pretty much anything. You just know that there is a light there. It's not harmful to your eyes. Sometimes when the light goes off, you twist it off, and spread the light out and just leave it on the corner so that you don't feel exactly, you don't feel like you are in the total darkness. But that light does not help you to find anything. You cannot find your books, you cannot read, no help in doing anything. The light just spreads out. But then when you want to actually use that light for some to find something, then you pick up the torch and twist it another way, to the other side, and then the light focuses on the object, and then you can find your book, your keys, whatever, right? So basically, wisdom is that light, and then concentration is that twisting part. So when you concentrate, when you twist it to make the light, make the torch light on the object, that your desirable object, then you are able to use it in a sense that you are able to find your book, your keys, etc. Right? Otherwise, that when you let the light spread out, even though there is a light, it seems bright, but you cannot use it in the sense that you cannot find any object with that light. Yeah. So the concentration is that twisting part, that that focusing of the light. The light is the wisdom, but the wisdom needs to be focused on something for it to become usable. For it to be applicable, to it to be useful. Without that, even though it is a light, it's just there. It doesn't serve anything like that. It doesn't serve much. It doesn't have much usage. Yeah. So I said two example. One example, this one. The other example is you have a knife, yeah, sharp knife. And let's say you have a sharp knife, but with or without a handle. So the handle, with a handle, you can hold the knife with a strong fist, and then you can cut through, or you can do whatever you want to do with that knife. But if even if it's a very sharp knife, but you don't have a proper handle, if the handle breaks through, then no matter how sharp the knife is, you will not be able to utilize the knife for its maximum output. So the same way is with, so basically wisdom and concentration has to go hand in hand. Yeah. So then we have the third and the fourth line. So for someone who has both, meaning concentration and wisdom intact together, then the samsara. So samsara is likened to an ocean. So the samsara's ocean is no more than a print left by a ox's hoof. So meaning when the bulls and the cows walk in the forest, they make a footprint in the forest, and later if it rains, it will fill up the place. It will fill up the hollowed part where the hoofs made a print, right? So it seems like it is there now, right? It rains, then the water is filled. Later, because it's such a small thing, so the water will dry up. Water will evaporate very quickly, and then the hoof print will also not be there. If you come back like 3-4 days later, the hoof print is just gone, right? So the sea of samsara is now become like the imprint of a hoof made by imprint of a, because a footprint made by ox's hoof, like that. So basically, it's the samsara is very small. The ocean of samsara is very easy for that person to dry, or that person to cross over. It's such a small, minor thing now, if you have concentration and wisdom intact together. So here, when we talk about wisdom, we are talking, so there are many types of wisdom. So here, wisdom, which means discernment, right? Discrimination. So we are discriminating between the self and the no self, or the selflessness. Yeah, the existence of a self, and the um, existence of an inherent self and the selflessness. Yeah. So the concept of Atma and Anatma. So prior to the Buddha Dharma, all the other teachings talk about a self, there being a certain self, certain soul within the body, within your being, and then recognizing or realizing that soul is liberating for you. That is the concept. There is a pre-Buddhist concept. So when the Buddha taught that there is no such thing as a soul, okay, there is no such thing as a soul, and there is no such thing as a self. Even though we talk about myself, yourself, ourself, etc., but that only exists in the conventional sense. In the ultimate sense, there is no self. Mm. Uh, I think we discussed that earlier. So I mean, we keep discussing this often over and over again, and it's a big part of Nagarjuna's teaching as well, that there is no self. Yeah, that we discussed this earlier about when we say, okay, who are you? I am a Tibetan. That is my nationality. When I say I am black, that is my color. That is the color of my skin. When I say I'm tall, that is the height. When I say I'm the like American, that's talking about my citizenship. When I say I'm, so basically, when you whatever you try to describe yourself, it is an aspect of yourself, not yourself. And when you go further and further, there is no such thing as self that you can a singular independent self that you can pinpoint and say, oh, this is the self. When we look for Tongkhor Rinpoche, yeah, Tongkhor Rinpoche. So if I point at the dress that I'm wearing, it's a monastic robe. Uh, that is my dress. That's not me. Right? And so basically, anything you point at, even my ideology, that is not me. Yeah. Even my vows, that is not me. That is my vow. It is mine, but not me. So if you go, you will not find an independent me that exists uh, entirely on its own. So therefore, you cannot find a self. So in the Buddha Dharma, there is no Atma. Sanskrit is Atma. So prior to Buddha Dharma, all the schools talk about Atma, the self, existence of a self, independent self. And Buddha Dharma is the first one to come up with the idea of Anatma, which means no self, the uh, the no self theory. So basically, wisdom here means understanding no self, understanding what we just discussed, understanding that there is no self that is independent from the body, from the identity, from the color, from the nationality. When you strip off, okay, when you strip off all these those aggregates, those attributes from you, then there is no you anymore. So when you strip Tongkhor Rinpoche of his vows, his name, his nationality, his color, his weight, his height, everything, then there is no Tongkhor Rinpoche. Tongkhor Rinpoche is made up of all these attributes. When you put all the attributes together, that is Tongkhor Rinpoche. When you strip off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there is no. It's very similar, very, very easy to understand is the hand. When you have all the 5 fingers together, you can say this is a hand. When you take one by one, and then ask, where is the hand? There is no hand, like that. So that is the no self concept. So wisdom here means the concept of the understanding, realizing self and no self. That no self is the reality, and there is no such thing as a independent self that exists on its own without relying or depending on the attributes or the aggregates. Okay, so the reason I explained this a little bit is I'm trying to lay out the foundation for the next verse. So which is something called the 14 points. 14 points, okay? So it has a very long name. Usually this is known as the 14 points upon which the Buddha did not share his opinion. So 14 points on which the Buddha did not share his opinion. So that is the next sort of chapter. That is the next point that we are going to cover. So in order to go deeper into the 14 points that the Buddha did not share his opinion with, we need to go briefly over the idea of self and no self, etc. So that's why we just did a little bit of briefing. Yeah. Okay. Now we will go with the verse number 108 and see how it goes from there. Do you have any questions? If you have any question, you can pose, okay? Otherwise, I'll just go with verse number 108 and then see how it goes from there.
Cái lý do mà thầy phải nói về cái điểm vừa rồi, tại sao thầy phải giải thích về cái vô ngã và từ ngã? Tại vì nó sẽ là nền tảng cho các cái khổ tiếp theo mà chúng ta chuẩn bị học. Trong các cái khổ tiếp theo thì nó sẽ nói về 14 cái điểm, 14 cái điều mà Đức Phật không trả lời. Có nghĩa là có 14 cái điểm mà nếu mà có ai hỏi Đức Phật thì Đức Phật sẽ không đưa ra ý kiến, hay là 14 cái câu hỏi mà sẽ không có câu trả lời. Thì để đi chi tiết và để hiểu được 14 cái tại sao lại có cái 14 cái điểm mà Đức Phật không trả lời này, thì chúng ta phải hiểu về cái khái niệm vô ngã và tự ngã. Thì tiếp theo chúng ta sẽ đi vào khổ 108. Thì trước khi đi vào cái khổ này thì ai có câu hỏi gì thì mọi người có thể hỏi thầy ạ.
108 Uluma temba chupshi jikdena nime nyingi rabzon kandala teda namla sambar megidi te lo ni shiwar gima las. Let me do it in English. The kinsman of the sun did well pronounce, with silence on the 14 worldly points. On these you must not ponder or reflect. With them your mind will never be at peace. So that is the reference to the 14 points. Yeah, the 14 points that the Buddha did not share opinion of. So this is what we're going to discuss next. Yeah.
Thầy vừa đọc lấy tiếng Tạng của cái khổ 108 và cái ý nghĩa tiếng Anh của cái khổ 108 đó là: như thần mặt trời đã từng tuyên bố về 14 điều của thế gian, các điều ấy không cần phải suy nghĩ, khiến tâm ta không thể được an lạc. Thì đây là cái 14 điều mà Đức Phật không trả lời. Thì sau đây thầy sẽ giảng về 14 cái điều này. Yes, Rinpoche.
Oh yeah. So the first line, it says the kinsman of the sun. Okay, so kinsman of the sun, brother of the sun, or friend of the sun, relative of the sun. So it is a reference to the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. Not all the Buddhas, but the Shakyamuni Buddha is referenced by the term friend of the sun. So according to the story, the about 8 generations before the Shakyamuni Buddha. So the Shakyamuni Buddha's lineage is that of Brahmin, of the priest, the priesthood. So back in the day, the Shakyamuni Buddha's one of his forefathers was who was a Brahmin, a priest, has earned the wrath of the king, meaning that he made the king angry. So for that reason, the king actually sentenced him to death. Okay. One of the past generation of the Shakyamuni Buddha, he made the king angry and then he was sentenced to death.
Ở đây thì cái khổ này đầu tiên, vòng đầu tiên còn nói đó là anh trai của mặt trời hay là bạn của mặt trời trong cái ngữ cảnh này thì đều là ám chỉ đến Đức Phật, không phải Đức Phật nào khác mà chính là Đức Phật Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Theo câu chuyện được truyền lại thì khoảng 8 đời trước của Đức Phật Thích Ca Mâu Ni Dòng dõi của ngài là dòng dõi thuộc về giai cấp rất là cao quý, đó là dòng dõi Bà La Môn. Vào thời đó thì một trong những vị tổ tiên của Đức Phật là một vị Bà La Môn và là một tu sĩ, và người này thì đã làm nhà vua nổi giận, nhà vua rất tức giận và đã kết án tử hình cho cái vị Bà La Môn đó. Đó là một trong những tổ tiên, một cái đời trước của dòng truyền thừa của Đức Phật Thích Ca Mâu Ni.
So in Hinduism, there is this concept that there is no sin greater than killing a Brahmin. So you can kill anyone. If you kill 10,000 or 1 million people, it is still less sinful than killing a Brahmin, a priest. So killing a priest is something that has no equal amount of sin. The sin that you accumulate as by killing a Brahmin, then there is no equal. There is no equal to that. So, so because of that reason, any warriors, king, princess, general, whatever, when they fight, when they have a battle, wage war over each other, they will usually spare the priest. Yeah. So in this particular case, the Brahmin, one of the forefathers of the Buddha, who earned the wrath of the king, who made the king angry, he was so angry he wants to kill uh, the 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 hermit. He's the hermit, right? One of the Buddha's forefather, but he cannot kill him because he's a Brahmin. So therefore, what he did was he tied the hermit into onto a tree. He tied him onto a tree, and it is said to be a field of sugarcane. So he was tied onto one of the sugarcane trees, and it was very hot there, so he was made to die there by tying him to a sugarcane tree. So they cannot directly kill him because he is a Brahmin. If they kill him, the sin is too um, the sin is too much for anybody to carry. So the king doesn't want to do that. The soldiers don't want to. Nobody wants to do that. So instead, they decided to tie the priest to sugarcane tree and then let him just die in the heat there. So when he was made to die there, then of course the sun was very hot, uh, and the Brahmin, the priest, found out that he is going to die very soon. There is no way out, and of course the um, descendants, hereditary, is very important. So he needs to make sure that his descendants continue because he doesn't have a wife. So if he dies, then his um, legacy will discontinue. So what happened was, so he decided to continue his legacy anyway by planting his seed onto the sugarcane tree. Okay, so the sugarcane, he planted his seed into the sugarcane tree, and then through the heat provided by the sun, the sugarcane tree was able to bear a descendant. And then the sugarcane tree was able to bear son, and later on, the priest died, and the sugarcane tree was able to bring the son, was able to born a son, and then it continued to be for about 7 generations, and then the Shakyamuni Buddha came about like that. So this is you can it's a mythological story, so you can have you know um, I mean, how much of the story is true or not, it's very hard to verify. But the term, a kinsman of the sun, right? The friend of the sun, the term came from this because the the priest released his seed, his sperm on the sugarcane, and with the help of the sun's warmth, the sugarcane tree was able to bear a son. And so there are two names for the Buddha Shakyamuni's lineage. One is known as the friend of the sun. The another one is known as the teaching of the sugarcane lineage. I think many of you have not heard of this before. So Buddha Dharma is, Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching is called the lineage of the sugarcane tree. How many of you have heard of this before? So I've heard, I've not seen this in any other text, any text other than the Tibetan Buddhist teaching. So in the Tibetan Buddhist teaching, this particular um, legend is widespread. But in other teachings, I have not seen. Maybe you have that same in Vietnamese, or I don't know. Yeah. So the Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching is called the lineage of the sugarcane tree, sugarcane plant. It is also known as the lineage of the friend of the sun, like that. So this is where the term came from. Okay, so this is a legend. It's a mythology. It's part of a mythology. So sometimes mythology can be true, may not be true. It may have reference to things that so we don't know exactly, right? But it is what it is. So it is important to know the mythology. It is not important to know whether it is true or not. Yeah. If you know the mythology, then there may be very many ways to interpret the mythology, but it's important to know it. To have understand, to have that information is key. But how you take it is up to you entirely. So anyway, the Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching is called the Dharma of the sun, friend of the sun, or the Dharma of the lineage of the sugarcane plant. Yeah. So, okay, now coming back to the 14 points that the Buddha did not share an opinion with. Yeah. So it's a long name, but this is so so what are the 14 points? Yeah. So these 14 points you can summarize into four parts. The first one is to do related to the Buddha. I will not say that, I will not use the term Buddha. I will use the term Tathagata. Okay, Tathagata. Tathagata is a term that we usually interchangeably use with the term Buddha. So if you see that in some of the translation, you may see Buddha, if you see the term Buddha, then you have to be very cautious with the term, okay? Because the exact term that was used is the Tathagata. Tathagata, Tathagata is a reference for the Buddha, but the exact term that was used when so basically, okay, so I have to give a backdrop here. So this is basically when the Buddha was chased, you can say chased. Buddha was chased by non-Buddhist scholar for a long period of time, certain period of time, and they want to have an audience with the Buddha for some time. And the Buddha kind of was evading them, not really evading them, but Buddha was kind of busy and not seeing them. And then one particular moment, those non-Buddhist scholars kind of what's the word? Encountered upon the Buddha. They sort of they went to see the Buddha, and then they asked 14 different questions. Okay, so the non-Buddhist scholars, they were great scholars. They have many thousands of students of their own, and they asked 14 different questions. And to none of the questions that they asked, Buddha gave a reply. Buddha gave no reply to any of the questions. So all these questions came back unanswered from a public point of view. Okay, so there was 14 questions that which the Buddha did not answer, or to put it properly, to put it more appropriately, 14 points upon which the Buddha did not give opinion. Okay. Oh yeah. So the non-Buddhist scholars asked 14 different questions to which the Buddha gave no reply. The Buddha was silent altogether, even though he's not meditating, but he was silent. And then, so later, the 14, sorry, the scholars, the non-Buddhist scholars, uh, ridiculed the Buddha. And then they went to the public and then told everyone that the Gautama, mm, Siddhartha Gautama, has no answer to our question. We asked him not one, not two, not three, not four, but 14 different questions. And to any of those questions, Gautama has no answer. So Gautama is, literally an idiot. So anyway, they try to make this public and try to ridicule, embarrass Buddha, etc. And but no matter what, the Buddha did not give any answer to that question. So it's usually known as the 14 points that the Buddha did not share an opinion with. So uh, so the 14 questions that the scholars asked the Buddha is divided into four segments. Okay, so the first one is referring regarding the Tathagata. Okay, in some translation you will see Buddha, but that is wrong. You have to use the term Tathagata exactly. There's a reason behind it. You cannot use the term Buddha. You have to use the term Tathagata because they are two different meaning, even though it refers to the same thing, but it has two different meaning. So, four questions regarding Tathagata, four questions, yeah, regarding the past of the self, four questions regarding the future of the self, and then two questioning regarding the body and the self. So there's a four question regarding the Tathagata, four regarding the future, four regarding the past, that is 12 questions, and then two regarding the mind and two regarding the body and the self. Okay, so that's 14 in total. So these are 14 questions that they asked, and the Buddha did not share any answer to that, respond to that. So in order to understand the four questions, the first three sets of questions, I will introduce to you something called the ancient way of inquiry. In the past, when they make an investigation, when they ask a question, when they do an inquiry, they do through a process called tetralama. So tetra meaning four. So basically, they ask any kind of analysis they want to do. They do it with the four line of questioning. Okay, four line of questioning. So it's called tetralama. So they use that method. Um, so basically, they use that same method. So the tetralama uh, method with these four questions, the three sets of questions. Yeah, three sets of four questions. So the first one is regarding the Tathagata. so so there are four questions regarding the Tathagata. So the question goes like this: Does the Tathagata after death does the Tathagata after death exist, does not exist, or exists and does not exist at the same time, or or um, is neither of them, is none of that. Okay, basically means the Tathagata exists, the Tathagata does not exist. So yes and no, and then it exists and not exists, which means it is both yes and no, right? And then the last one is neither, which means none of the above. So yes, no, yes and no, and none of the above. So this is called tetralama. So all the inquiries in many of the one of the very popular way to inquire about the truth in the ancient method of analysis is to go through the process of tetralama, which is to four lines of questioning. Yes, no, both, and neither. So that's the way of asking a question. I think many of you may be familiar with another English term called dilemma. So when you are confused about something, what to do or not do, go or not go, say or not say, that kind of thing, in English, there's a term called dilemma. So it's the same origin. They're both from the same origin. So di is two. Di is two. Lemma is a proposition, is a question, it's a is a position. So dilemma is two question. So do or not do. Tetra means four. Tetralemma means four questions or four propositions. So basically, you are stuck in that. So dilemma is very popular in English word. I think a lot of people use that. But tetralemma may be unfamiliar, new to you. So in any case, so the four questions or four propositions, yes, no, both, and neither. So that is how you inquire something, how you use your take your logical approach. So even though it sounds a lot of question, but the actual question is very simple. There's only like 3 or 4 questions there. So the first one is to do with the Tathagata. Does the Tathagata exist beyond death, right? Or does not, or both, or neither? That's the first batch of questions, 4 questions there. Yes, no, both, neither. Then the second one, second set of question is, does the self exist eternally? Meaning, was it there before everything? Was the self existent eternally? Mm, Basically, it means, was the self there ever since beginningless of time? So was the self eternal, not eternal, both, or neither? Then the third question is the self um, um, permanent? Does the self not only was there from since beginningless of time, but is also going to be there, basically no end to that. There is no beginning to the self, right? That is one question regarding the beginning of the self. Does self has a beginning? Yes, no, neither, and both. Then is there an end to the self? Yes, no, both, and neither. So there's 3 sets of questions. One regarding Tathagata, two regarding the beginning of the self and the end of the self. So all that that is 12 questions already there. And the last one is the body same? Is the body one with the self or the soul, or is not one with the soul? So that's 2 questions. That means 14 questions altogether. So the first, so that's the 12 questions. And so the last question, when I said, is the body and the self same or not same? So I made a little mistake here. So the actual question is not self. Actual question is life and body. Is life and the body same or not same? But uh, according to the non-Buddhist schools of that time, life is synonymous. Life is synonymous with the term life is synonymous with soul. Okay, so therefore, when they ask the question, is life same as body? Then what they're actually asking is soul the same as body? But the literal question that they ask is not, is self and the body same? That's not the question they asked. They asked, is the life and the body same? That's what their literal words, actual words. Okay, so now we go with the very first set of questions, the first 4 set of questions, which is to do with the Tathagata. So, does the Tathagata exist after death or not death? I'm sorry, does the Tathagata exist or not after his death? So, even though the term used was Tathagat, so Tathagat is usually the term that we use for the Buddha. And at that time of the questioning, um, the questioner, the non-Buddhist, were implying to the Buddha himself. But in reality, Tathagata in their mind, in their intention, the question was not about the Buddha. Even though the term Tathagat was used, it was not referring to the Tathagat as we know it. It was actually referring to people in general. So everybody because everybody, all sentient beings are Tathagat. Okay, when I say all sentient beings are Tathagat, because Tathagat means Buddha, right? So you must not confuse that the non-Buddhists are thinking that all sentient beings have the Buddha nature, so they are Buddha. Not like that. That's not the reason they regard all sentient beings as Tathagat. The reason they regard all sentient beings as Tathagata is totally different from our understanding of Buddha nature and why we call everybody a Buddha. I mean, sometimes we visualize all sentient beings as Buddha. But here, when the questioner asked Tathagata, they're not referring to the Buddha, they're referring to all sentient beings. And when they refer to all sentient beings as Tathagata, they're not referring to them as having a Buddha nature, etc. Their intention is totally different. Yeah. So the reason the non-Buddhists are referring to all sentient beings as Tathagata is because all sentient beings are Tathagat. So okay, now for this you have to go deeper into the meaning of the word Tathagat. So Tathagat is a Sanskrit term formed by two words. One is Tatha and the other is Gatta. So the first word Tatha means just as, just like. That's the meaning of the word Tatha, just like that, right? Or just as it is. That is the meaning of the word Tatha. Gatta means to go. So the one that goes just as it comes. So basically, everybody is born and then die. Everybody born and die, born and die. So everybody goes as they come. They come, but they go, right? So all sentient beings in that very simple understanding. So they are not referring to a sophisticated thing. They are thinking of very simple terms that all sentient beings, you, me, everybody, we come, we were born, and then we go. That's how it is. That is just as it is. That is the tata. That is the just. So we all come, we were born in samsara, we go, then we die. And then we are born again, we die. We born again, we die. We born, die, born, die, born, die. That is the very nature of us. That is the just part. That is what we are. We just born, we just die. That is us. So that is the tatha. And then we go. Tatha gata. Just go. Just come, just go. That is what sentient beings are. So in that context, they are referring to all sentient beings as Tathagata. So does the Tathagata exist after death? So even the term that they used was nirvana. Does the Tathagata exist after nirvana? That's in the question they used that term. But nirvana here they're referring to death. So anyway, to that question, does the Tathagata exist after death? Yes, no, both, neither. Buddha made no response. Yeah. So why can't the Buddha answer this simple question of whether there is a the Tathagata exists after death or not, or for that matter, any of the other questions any of the other 10 questions that the non-Buddhists have asked. Why can the Buddha answer that question? Does Buddha have no answer to that? Is Buddha incapable of answering that question? Is Buddha have no knowledge about this? What does the Buddha lack in answering those questions? So what do you think? We will find out in the next week session. Okay. Meanwhile, you can reflect on that, contemplate on that, study on that, and we will find more next week. Okay. So the dedication, please. Kyawandi nyurdo da lama zangye drogyuro ne drowa chenyamale Kye salang ge bara sho chan jo sem jo rembo che ma ye pa na ma ge gyur ke ba nyam ba me ba yang ko ne kon do pe wa ra sho me me je we de jin jin je si je me ge be wan bo chan be ya de boy my de jo man ze sang wen da kan jin ken ben zo gen zong kai ba lai san tai be shai lai so wan de lo san tai be shai lai so wan de den be ni bo zhen be ben a xin na ma do yu gun chang ju be lo sang che ye jiang zo cho gun do den ge zhou den dam so wan de.
Thank you, Rinpoche La. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Brother Wu.
Rinpoche La.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Rinpoche La.
Thank
Con xin
you.
thank you, Rinpoche La. Cảm ơn anh Vũ, cảm ơn các anh chị.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Wu. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche La.
Bye.
Anh em có hiểu